Hi everyone, I'm Dalibor and welcome to the stream. I work at Shaper 3D and today I'll be redesigning a missing part from a hand mixer. We'll walk through how to model the part from scratch, make a few small improvements to the mechanism, and then create a detailed technical drawing with annotations. By the end, you'll see how to go from idea to a fully documented part that's ready for manufacturing. And also you can find the model in the link provided in the description. If you are quick enough, you can follow along with my steps, or you can simply watch the video later and reproduce them. So in order to clearly understand what we are doing while modeling, let's start by analyzing the mechanism that we want to create, so it's clear what we are aiming for. So let me just open the hand mixer with mechanism. Okay, here it is. So let's start with creating the section view. Section view is a great feature when you want to inspect internals or when you want to edit something that is hidden by other geometries. So now we can see the internal parts of the mechanism. The parts that are important to us are beaters, pins, springs, pin guide, flat spring, restraining plate, lever, and button. And how this mechanism works: when we push the button, it will push the lever, and the lever rotates around the lever point. This will move the restraining plate upward, which will release the pins, and the pins will, because of the springs, will push pins towards the right, towards the beaters, sorry, and this will push beaters out. So this is the way how this mechanism operates. And if we push beaters back in, this will push pins towards left. This will then, because of conical ends, this will raise the restraining plate upward, and this will rotate lever, and this will act also on the button. So now when we understand how this mechanism works, let's get to the model that is provided in the description, so we can start with the modeling. Okay, this is our starting point. So the first thing we can notice is that there is no mechanism, no springs, no pin guide, no pins at all. So we need to start by editing this restraining plate. The first step will be to isolate it. Remove these parts because they are not necessary. Now let's close this gap using direct modeling. Okay, and now we can also see that there is no conical ends, so we need to create it. Let's first create the plane, and let's rotate this plane by 90 degrees. Okay, now I can also create a section view, and I can start sketching this plane. Let's create some reference lines. And then let's create the profile that we will later use to create conical ends. With revolve we can easily create this end, and now with simple feature and direct modeling we can just like that create conical end. Okay. Now I can do this also for the another pin, but in order to save some time I'll just use the mirror function and I'll mirror this new part around middle plane and just like that easily create the copy of this. And for this, sorry about that, for this we will need to create the mid plane. Just select those two surfaces, add mid plane, and now we can mirror this part. Okay. Now let's prepare this part of the mixer for pin guide, which will we create afterwards. So let's create a section view and start sketch on this surface. Create line for reference, make it construction, and create a rectangle from the center. Now I want to extrude this by 1 millimeter. Now you can see that the part that we extruded is not visible, but we can easily fix this by just moving the section view a little bit. Now we can round those edges. And now let's start with designing the pin guide. I'll just project this edge as a reference, make construction, and also I will create one reference here. And create the profile. Now we can use this profile to create new part. Okay, I want to adjust it a little bit. create another sketch. And now I want again to mirror this body on the other side of the body we created at the beginning. To use this, the easiest way is to create again the midplane between those two faces, and now mirror this body around this plane. Okay, now we have three different bodies, so let's create one from them with union. Okay, and now because this part is symmetrical, again with mirror feature we can create other side. Let's rename it. We can hide this plane so it does not obstruct the view. Okay, the next I will try to create another part of this pin guide. So we will create the section view here and start the sketch. Use the circle. Let's just measure what is the distance between those two faces. It's 5 millimeters, so I will extrude this by 5 millimeters, and I want it to be also the new body. Let's extrude it on the other side too. So the total distance or total length should be 14 millimeters. Now I want to project this face on this face. Select the things I want to isolate and create the room for the pins. From the other side, I'll use offset edge to create this circle, and now let's just check. It's 14 millimeters. Let's extrude this by 13.5. Something similar we'll do on this side too. And if we look at the other side, Now we can see that we created a seat for the springs. Let's turn on the mid plane and turn on the section view. Now those are still two different parts. Now I want to create one rectangle on this and we also need to create some reference lines so we can define the position of the rectangle. Actually that happened by accident, so I accidentally picked the wrong plane to create drawing, but if this happens, let's just use this trick and project this on this plane. And now we actually avoided creating this sketch again from scratch, and we will turn off the section view, select this projection, and okay, now let's round those edges a little bit. Okay, now let's turn the plane, middle plane that we will use to mirror this body. Okay, and when we look inside this body, we can see that we have something that we should not. So we want to delete this part, but if we delete this part, we will delete this whole body. So we want to divide this body in two different bodies. So let's select this one and use subtract. And now we also want to keep removed bodies. In this case, remove body because it's only one. And now we can delete this part. And this is our pin guide. Make it one part or one body. Now we can look at the mixer as a whole. Okay, now we need to create springs, coil springs. We will again use this plane, create section view, start sketch, create some reference, and start by creating the circle. Define its position. And with revolve, we can easily create spring just like that, and that was easy. Click OK. Now we can go back to the sketch. We will use the same sketch to create another body. Let's make this horizontal, this two, change this to 2.8 and set this angle to 125. Okay, now we can use this profile to rotate it around this axis, and we have another body. Now I want this to be part of the pin, so I'll select both of them and perform union, and now this assembly is done. But if we want to do this on another pin too, we can easily mirror this spring and also now I would like to mirror this part, but I already joined it to the pin, so I'll use design history to suppress this feature. Now I can mirror it, press OK, and let's see if this will work. And now we have again the one body, and let's see what we have on the other side. We also have this part here, so this was successful, and this is actually the almost whole mechanism. The only thing that I forgot is that I need here place to insert the flat spring, but I can create space for it very easy. I will just select those faces and move them by 0.2 millimeters. Like that. And now let me create section view here and start sketch. And let's create a profile for flat spring. We will also need here a reference. Let's define some angles. All of those lines should be parallel. Okay, now they are. Let's just define distance between them. And there we go. Now we can use this profile to create the spring. And we need to do some adjustments on the spring. We need to round these edges. Keep in mind that those edges are on the outside, so we will use 0.7, but now the inside edges we will use 0.5 because of the thickness of the spring. Okay, and we need one more detail. We also need some references to define the position of rectangle. And now let's just round these corners. And our mechanism is done. Let's just hide those parts that we don't need, not part but the items, like sketches and planes also. Okay, so here is our mechanism, and now when we are done with modeling, we can start with drawing, creating a technical documentation from this body. So how will we do it? We'll go to this side and we'll just click create drawing. We will pick the body that we want to create drawing for. This is the guide pin. We will click next, and here we can define some of preferences. I will choose the portrait orientation, A4 paper, and let's set the scale and continue. And now the shaper will suggest you some of the views. but in some cases those views are not something that you are looking for, and if this happens to you, then sorry about that, then you can click on this option here, front, and now I have also the custom base view option. I will click on custom base view option, and I will just rotate my part, my body, the way I want it to be projected on the paper. So this is the projection I want to be my base view, and here it is. Now from this one I can create another projection, and we can also create isometric projection, so it's easier that way for us to look at what are we defining, which dimensions are we defining. I just want it to be third angle like that, and those three are the three I will go with for now. You can very easily position them on the paper, but in order to fully define this part, we will also need some section views. We can go to views, select section view, and now create section view. And we will need another section view. This is like that. And the first thing I want to do is just to select the center mark and do the annotation for the circular projection. Also to add center lines wherever it is needed. And now I see that I forgot to add center mark to these rounds here. And the next step would be to simply add dimensions. This is just some simple annotating. So I'm just clicking and the shaper automatically recognizes if the line is rounded or the line is any other type. So it chooses this type of annotation. But if you want to define every annotation by yourself, you can find here options. But usually the shaper do this very good. And I think that our part is now well defined. But I noticed that I forgot to create holes for the bolts, so we will go back to modeling real quick. Create the section view, start with the sketch and create a projection as a reference and create two circles. And another one. We can now select them and use the extrude function feature and extrude it by 2 millimeters. Turn off the section view, and now we can go back to drawing, and here we can see the message that drawing is outdated, so we can update it, and immediately there is new geometry, those two holes. And because it's a bit tiny detail, I'll use the detail view. I will create this circle here, click next, and we can place it later to some other place or rearrange it a little bit. So let's move this to the right and to the bottom. And we can add dimensions also on this detail view. Let me just see if I missed something, but I don't think so. Okay, that wraps up the technical drawing, and with that the whole process from analysis to a manufacturable part is complete. So you can take this drawing and forward it to your preferred manufacturer so you can make this part. And with that we are done with our task today. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope this gave you a clear look at how to approach small mechanical redesigns using Shaper 3D, from modeling to a documentation. And if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to drop them in the chat or comments. Thank you once again, and see you next time.